Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping into a pretty dark, almost cinematic reality to explore something that genuinely baffles most of us. We're going to peel back the golden curtain on sudden wealth. We constantly hear the fairy tales, right? The incredible luck, the giant novelty checks, but we rarely look closely at the downfall, that stark contrast between unimaginable riches and, well, total financial ruin. By the end of our time together today, you're going to understand the exact psychological mechanisms that cause massive fortunes to literally just vanish.
So just imagine it for a second. You wake up tomorrow morning, you check your ticket, and boom, you've won $10 million. Think about that immediate rush of relief. No more bills, debt notifications completely gone, no more stress weighing you down every single time you log into your bank app. It sounds like absolute utopia. But what if I told you that for a shocking number of people, nearly a third actually, this exact dream turns into a living nightmare? The dark truth here is that so many winners end up completely bankrupt in just a few years. How on earth does someone go from a freshly minted millionaire to flat broke? Well, the answer has very little to do with the math of money and absolutely everything to do with the psychology behind it.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's time we bust society's most pervasive myth. We all kind of operate under this assumption that if we just had more money, all our financial problems would instantly disappear. But money doesn't automatically grant you financial intelligence. Winning the lottery doesn't suddenly magically change your decision-making overnight. The exact same emotions, the exact same spending patterns you had yesterday, yeah, they're still there today. The only difference is that now, those habits are playing out with millions of dollars instead of thousands.
To really wrap your head around this, think of money like gasoline. It's literally just an accelerant. It doesn't steer the car, it just fuels the engine. If your financial habits have you driving in the right direction, you're saving, investing, planning, then pouring millions in cash into your tank is going to help you arrive at genuine wealth way faster. But if your current habits have you speeding toward a cliff of debt and overspending, well, adding millions just gets you to the bottom of that canyon a lot faster, and the crash is exponentially bigger. So let's look at the biology of spending, what we can call the dopamine trap. We really have to look at the physical reality of sudden wealth. When a winner gets that prize, their brain literally lights up. They get hit with this absolutely enormous dopamine rush. And here's the crucial context for you. This is the exact same biological system that gets triggered by gambling or endless social media scrolling and other highly addictive behaviors.
Now, what's really interesting about this is a concept called hedonic adaptation. This is the biological trap. At first, buying that brand new luxury car feels amazing, right? Your brain is absolutely flooded with dopamine. But human brains are insanely adaptable. They quickly adjust to new levels of pleasure. So that extraordinary thrill of the luxury car, it rapidly fades until it just feels like your normal, everyday commute. You adapt. What was once this peak of excitement literally just becomes your new baseline. And because that initial thrill inevitably fades, we see this deadly spending escalation play out time and time again. It almost always starts with the luxury car. Then, the car isn't enough, so it's an upgrade to a massive mansion. Then, the mansion gets boring, so they buy a yacht. Then, private jets. Wildly expensive vacations. They're constantly chasing bigger and bigger purchases, desperately trying to recreate that very first high of the lottery win. So what looks to the outside world like immense success is actually just a devastating spending addiction disguised as luxury.
All right, let's shift to the external pressures, the status game, where the goalposts are always moving, because the internal biology is really only half the battle. As humans, we're social creatures. We naturally, almost instinctively, compare ourselves to the people around us. It's how we figure out our place in the world. But for a sudden millionaire, the world they compare themselves to shifts violently. Think about it. Before the win, having a really nice car or a slightly bigger house made you look like a massive success in your old social circle. But after becoming wealthy, your circle changes. Suddenly, you're hanging out in ultra-wealthy neighborhoods, surrounded by vastly bigger estates, way nicer cars, and deeply entrenched, incredibly expensive lifestyles. The goalposts haven't just moved, they've completely vanished into the horizon. What once felt like crazy, incomprehensible wealth suddenly just feels totally average.
And that leads to this tragic irony. Instead of using their new millions to buy time, or a peace of mind, or a true freedom, they start bleeding their fortune dry just to impress their new peers. It's an incredibly dangerous game, and honestly, it's a game nobody can actually win. No matter how much you spend, there is always going to be someone richer. Which brings us to changing relationships and the money magnet effect. We've talked about the brain chemistry and the status games, but this interpersonal trap, it might actually be the most destructive of all.
Winning the lottery doesn't just change your bank balance, it drastically and permanently changes how everyone else on the planet sees you. You become a literal magnet. And this brilliantly illustrates how fast the pressure mounts. Friends come out of the woodwork asking for loans. Extended family members suddenly have these urgent life-or-death financial emergencies. Total strangers will literally track you down to pitch their can't-miss business ideas. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. And for the winner, this creates a profound, crushing sense of guilt when it comes to saying no. So they give, and they give, and they give some more.
Which leads us to a really sobering reality. Tens of millions of dollars can disappear much, much faster than anyone ever imagines. When you combine that crushing guilt with zero financial plan, an inability to set firm boundaries, and just a fundamental lack of understanding of how wealth actually works, the bank account drains at a terrifying speed. They cave to the pressure, and before they even realize what's happening, the balance hits zero.
So let's look at the root of all this, the real problem, the psychology of wealth. It's time to face an uncomfortable truth. When we see a lottery winner go bankrupt, we usually think it's just a bizarre fluke, or maybe they just got too much money too soon. But actually, scratch that. They don't go broke because they got too much money. They go broke because they simply never learned how to manage it.
So, the crucial point is this. Financial success is not just about the math of earning or receiving money, it is almost entirely about behavior. The exact skills you need to slowly build wealth over a lifetime are the exact same skills you need to keep it once you have it. If you bypass the building phase, well, you usually bypass the learning phase right along with it. Let's move to Anidia and see how this builds our behavioral blueprint. These 3 steps are the ultimate barrier between keeping your wealth and losing it all. Patience, discipline, delayed gratification. A lottery win demands absolutely none of these, but managing wealth, that demands all of them. Without patience, discipline, and the ability to just delay your gratification, even $50 million can and will vanish into thin air. To sum up the core thesis of our explainer today, money doesn't change who you are. It simply amplifies who you already are. If you're someone with strong, disciplined habits, adding wealth will cause that wealth to grow and protect you. But if your financial habits are weak, disorganized, or driven purely by emotion, adding wealth is just going to amplify those flaws until the wealth completely destroys itself. Keeping money isn't about the luck of a drawing. It's about mastering your own psychology.
I want to leave you with a question to really think about. Look at your own life right now, totally independent of any sudden windfalls. Are your daily habits currently building wealth, or are they subtly destroying it? Decoding the true nature of power and freedom starts with understanding your own financial psychology. Master your habits, and you master your wealth. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the mechanics of the world around you.